Welcome back. You're watching Big Deal, and we are in conversation with Sunil Kaul, the Managing Director, Carlyle Group Asia. So, Sunil, many interesting themes you spoke about. Let's first focus on your portfolio. You, of course, have had very hefty returns and profits made from the Indian financial services investments in the past. Now, with Yes Bank as well as PNB Housing Finance. Yes Bank, how do you see the growth trajectory for this particular company, and are you seeing some of the potential, looking at which you actually invested in this company and betted on this company, that being played out now?
Look, speaking as an investor, I think the banking sector in India is poised for pretty strong performance, so long as you have the fundamentals around risk management and your business model in place. The bank went through a difficult time. I think they've done a fantastic job, as you saw during the transition period from 2020 onwards. The deposit franchise has flourished over a period of time. They've repositioned the bank from being very wholesale, project finance, long-term exposure point of view to more towards SME and retail. And they have, very, very strong transaction banking capabilities, really recognized by the system as a whole. So we are very pleased with the work that they have done. We think that, if you believe in the fundamentals of this market, which we really do, and I think you can tell that I do, there is no reason why there should not be a good investment. Now, whether it, people sometimes get a little, and I'm not talking Yes in particular, but in general, people sometimes get a little antsy about, 1 month has elapsed, 2 months have elapsed, and, where is the dramatic transformation? Those of us who have worked in the industry for a period of time, it is hard work. You have to do it step by step. You can't rush into it. You can't make a different mistake because you are in some sort of a hurry. And I think that the bank and the numbers speak for themselves, is making strong progress. It will take time, but they are in the right direction, and we are quite comfortable with the investment we made.
And you spoke about housing finance, and you have an investment in PNB Housing Finance. So, Sunil, talking about the lessons from the past, and how is the future looking for that particular investing company?
Well, it's a great company, and I have always, said that it is a wonderful company. During the IL&FS crisis, etc., obviously all of the companies had a bit of a challenge. I think the company is again doing a great job in terms of repositioning itself. It's almost entirely retail now. It used to be a slightly different proportion, 80-20. Now it's 97-3. I think we have a fantastic management team in place. They can talk to the specifics of the performance. They're delivering good returns. They had a very successful rights issue, which we participated more than our proportion. That should give you a sense. Even after having been invested there for a period of time, we put in more than what was our pro rata because we believe in the story. I think they are building an affordable housing segment, which is actually doing extremely well. But since it's a little smaller than the other, it's not probably as well known. They've done a great job in managing their liability base. They have a fantastic deposit franchise. We have a great board. Our partnership with PNB is wonderful. So I think we are in a sweet spot. The stock price has responded accordingly. But I think we said the very big thing in terms of the transformation of the business. So we feel good about the team. We feel good about the investment. And I think it's another example of where an investor like us, we made this investment in 2015.
Yes.
This is 2023, it's 8 years.
Yes.
But, when we feel that, and particularly in financial services, that we can make a difference by providing capital, by providing time, by making sure we have the right team, we can drive the business to greater heights. We stay. Yes. We are not a 3-month, 6-month, 9-month, 12-month investor. And I think that shows.
And you spoke about the affordable housing finance space in PNB Housing Finance. Do you think in future it could be one of the key growth drivers? And what is your view on this space?
I think it will be an important part of the overall mix. Once again, one thing I learned in finance, and I've done it for a long time, is that you can't get carried away. You need to have a sense of balance. Because things, there are things and then things you don't know. But overall, if you have a little bit of diversification, it helps.
Yes.
And in the PNB housing, obviously there is, there's the prime, and there is this, and a little bit of LAP and so on. But leaving PNB aside, overall, Affordable housing segment is an important segment. The reason it became hot is because perhaps the banks were not servicing it as well, which opened an opportunity for other players. It is getting competitive. I think valuations there, people need to take a hard look at whether the valuations are fair. I would say, therefore, that it's a great opportunity. It's important for people to service this segment, but it has to be done in moderation at reasonable valuations.
So insurance sector, what is it that you like in insurance, and are the valuations of that particular theme conducive for an investment according to you?
I think insurance sector in India has a long runway. And again, I'm not talking the next 3, 6, 12 months. The fact of the matter is that the Indian consumer is not adequately insured. And I'm talking protection insurance, right? Which means leaving aside the savings element and the units and all that, unit trusts. Also, as a percentage, as people move, like I was talking earlier, when people move from this income segment to this income segment, their needs suddenly become very different. So the long-term prognosis for this, or the prospects for this, are pretty solid. And there are all kinds of riders you can do, and I feel fairly bullish. So long as you believe that the Indian consumer, Indian economy, per capita incomes, the distribution of income will do well. In terms of whether the valuations are justified or not, I feel that, I think the regulator here also has done a pretty good job, okay? There is, as you know, in insurance, there is a fair amount of art involved in calculating this embedded value and, and so on and so forth. I think the Indian insurance industry hasn't had big accidents in terms of their investments blowing up. They have to invest the premium, right? So overall, I think the balance sheets are clean, and given the runway ahead, I feel that the valuations are not unreasonable. But one company, of course, versus another company is a different matter.
All right. And in insurance, what do you like as a theme?
I think all of it. I like health insurance. I like life insurance. I think in terms of general insurance, the market is not as attuned to things like property insurance, etc., unless your mortgage company wants it or something. So there is runway in all of these.
All right. So looking at the entire conversation now, Sunil, what is that one space that you're most interested in the financial services space, where you could be looking at a future investment in India?
I don't know if there is one sector. I think
one or two themes that are right
I think
now
the consumer,
more
Indian consumer getting more affluent, Indian consumers' needs expanding, becoming more diversified. I think that is the core theme.
What is your view on fintech, and what kind of fintech do you like? Would you bet your money on credit-giving fintech companies?
First of all, I think we need to acknowledge that the fintechs in general, broadly speaking, have done a tremendous service to the financial services sector. Okay, they have come up with business models, ideas, sometimes maybe little, tricky in terms of regulatory sense, but generally, they have pushed the envelope. In terms of making credit or making insurance or making mutual funds available. And that's a good thing, because very often that has driven the banks either in cooperation with them or as a sort of, trying to emulate them. They have improved their processes, the customer experience has improved and so on. So I think that's been a positive. Secondly, they have reached out to customer segments that in the past was much harder for banks to reach. And they have, in a way, therefore, either again working through banks, with banks, or giving an example to banks, shown how to do that at a reasonable cost. So I think that is a positive. But also, I think there are, questions. There are questions around, are we going too far ahead in terms of unsecured credit? It's not just, people will show you ratios about unsecured credit versus GDP, this, that. I don't think it's just the question of ratios, but it's also a question of how fast you increase, how well trained and how well used to that the average consumer is. I think that's a concern in my view that, I'm sure the central bank, Reserve Bank is looking at, and something to be mindful of.
Are you seeing enough attractive propositions is what?
I think we have a decent pipeline. And, again, I go back on the valuation question is if we feel that at whatever valuation a deal is available, we can make a difference and therefore generate returns, valuation is just one of the inputs into that.
All right, Sunil Kaul, it's always a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much. Lots of takeaways coming in for the financial services sector in India and what you're looking at. Thank you so much for stopping by and
Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sunil. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Big Deal. Thanks so much for tuning in.